Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get Intern Ready with Lehigh at NasdaqCenter. My name is Nicola Corzine, and I'm the founding CEO and Executive Director of the NasDaq Entrepreneurial Center. And in case you don't know us, first, welcome. We're delighted to have you with us today. The NasDaq Center is a nonprofit that is building a better path for entrepreneurs worldwide by delivering access, equity, inclusion in the face of entrepreneurship. And we believe that there is so much in this world to learn from our founders. So we're grateful for all of them for contributing their knowledge and their needs to help us accelerate through the technical programs that they're going to deliver. Now, one of the things that you're going to see pop up in the chat in just a second is some of the information around the different programs, the different resources, and the different research that we do in collaboration with incredible partners, some of whom, of course, are represented here today with our amazing collaboration with Lehigh University. Just a couple of quick housekeeping rules before we get started with the program that you're all here for today. First, we want you to know, and we'd love to hear where you're actually joining us from today. We have the honor of working beside founders from all over the world. In fact, more than 120 countries are represented in our community of over 75,000 founders worldwide at this stage. So let us know where you're dialing in from. We'd love to say hi and welcome you wherever that may be in the world. Second of all, just so you know, we are going to be opening up for live Q&A today. So all of you probably know, but there's a great function down at the bottom of your screen called Q&A. Just go ahead and pop those questions in whenever you think about them. We're going to try to get to just as many as we possibly can. But all of our experts joining today are here in support of you. And we really do want to make sure that we're tailoring and delivering that content in the way that you need it to be. So let us know what's on your mind, and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can. And before we get started, I am going to, along those lines, launch a quick poll to just step back and get a temperature check of how everyone is doing. Certainly this market climate and these circumstances that we've all been going through for the last many months now are a challenging one. So I am going to go ahead and launch the first poll just to get a check on how everyone is doing. Please do let us know, and however you're feeling, just know that we appreciate you sharing transparently, and whatever stage and whatever place you're in today, we appreciate it. We often do usually see a great deal of optimism from our founders, but again, this has been a long and hard winter for many of you. So just appreciate your honesty in sharing how you're doing. Right now, we are seeing a strong amount of you that are surviving, and we're glad that you are. The center is committed to supporting the whole entrepreneur, and that includes, most importantly, your health and well-being through both wonderful times, but also challenging ones like the world has certainly been in for a while now. So thank you for sharing. The second one that I'm going to be popping up here just in a second is to ask you to tell or reflect upon us what your biggest needs are right now, kind of what's keeping you up at night, if you will, that typical question that I'm sure you get a little tired of answering. But one of the important things about how we reflect upon that information is we want you to know that our amazing program team at the center will look at these insights and this information, and over the next 8 to 10 weeks, actually embed that into their program outreach. So however you share this is actually going to shape up what programs, what educational offerings the center is actually able to deliver to you. So thank you for taking a moment and helping us help you in many ways around what it is that you're looking for. So if it's finance, which many of you are sharing today is a top need, along with sales and marketing, that will embed into the number of programs and classes and experts that we bring into our network to be able to deliver that information to you. And just like today, all of our programs, all of our research, and all of our offerings at the center are provided pro bono. We only have one ask in return. It's a big ask, of course. We know that you are so busy, but it really does take a village in entrepreneurship. So if you can turn around and help pay it forward to all the other amazing entrepreneurs out there who are building vibrant communities for all of us to benefit from, we appreciate you. So thank you for doing that. And without any further delay at this stage, I am delighted to welcome to this conversation one of my dear, dear champions and friends, somebody who I get to learn from each and every day, Dr. Samantha Dewalt. Sam, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. She is the managing director of the Lehigh at NasdaqCenter, and someone that we're excited to be hosting the conversation with. So Sam, welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas, so much. And thank you all for joining us today. I am honored and thrilled to be able to facilitate this really important conversation. As the managing director of the Lehigh at NasdaqCenter partnership, I have had the honor and privilege to work beside some incredible startups and student interns over the past 6.5, going on 7 years through programs like Startup Academy, the Silicon Valley Innovation Internship, and a quick shout out to our Silicon Valley Innovation interns who are on this call today. But I'm really looking forward to this conversation because it's always a rich one. We get to learn from our founders, our intern managers, and our student interns that have had the opportunity to participate in and host high impact startup internships. So, whether you're joining us today as a host company looking to welcome student talent into our organizations, or you're a student looking to develop your entrepreneurial mindsets and skills, as well as your network through a high impact startup internship, we are so glad that you are joining us. And we are honored to have an esteemed panel. So I will welcome our panelists to the virtual stage. If you'd please join me as I call your names. So Dolra, who is the founder and CEO of DOT. David Burnett, we've got the Vice President of Research and Development at DLZP. We've got Alex Fitzgerald, who is a Startup Academy 2023 intern with Trameter. And Shreya Chawla, who is a Startup Academy 2023 intern with HumanQ. So please join me in welcoming our panel. And I would love to invite each of you just to give us a brief introduction to yourselves and your background. So Dolra, we will start with you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Sam. Hello, everyone. My name is Dura, and I'm the founder and CEO of DOT. And DOT is a cash-to-cashless platform for immigrant students within the African continent.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dora. And David.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dave Brunet. I'm with DLCP Group. I'm the VP of Research and Development, responsible for all our IT operations and new product development. And I look forward to having a beautiful conversation this afternoon.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here, David. Alex.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alex Fitzgerald. I'm currently a senior here at Lehigh University. I study marketing with a minor in entrepreneurship. And this summer I worked at Trameter, which is an online booking travel agency. So I'm excited to talk about my experience this summer.
Thank you, Alex. And Shreya.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shreya Chawla. I'm an international student, a junior at Lehigh from India. I'm currently pursuing a dual degree, a Bachelor's of Sciences in Environmental Science and a Bachelor of Arts in International Relations and Economics. This summer, actually, I was an intern at HumanQ through the Startup Academy in San Francisco, and I was also involved with the United Nations on the side as well. But yeah, glad to have you all here. Thank you.
Thank you, Shreya. Okay, wonderful. At the center, we always love to start with the why, really understanding our why. So why don't we start with understanding what your motivation is? This is a question to the startup host companies. What's your motivation for bringing in student talent? And how do you even identify company and project needs before you bring on interns? So Dora, let's start with you. What's your motivation for bringing in student interns?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the umbrella term to describe our motivation for wanting interns was the genuine, was we just wanted to genuinely give back and be a part of the journey of a lot of student interns. We just wanted to genuinely contribute to their learning experience, and that then fed into evaluating the needs of the company and seeing where are we right now, where do we want to be in 2 years, or where do we want to be by the end of summer, and how can we curate that into a learning experience that can then fit into the learning experience of the interns. So for us, the number one reason is wanting to genuinely give back, wanting to genuinely be a part of other people's story, and wanting them to learn from a lot of the things we're doing. And then the other thing is just to get new insights and new perspectives from a lot of the interns, right? As a team of people working full-time and part-time, it can be super easy to miss out on the trends, to miss out on some really, really key details. And the interns we had this summer have just been phenomenal. And if we had decided to go without the interns, we would still be fine, but would have missed out on a lot of the details that these interns brought in for us. So again, just to cap off, a genuine for us, wanting to genuinely give back and contribute to their learning experience, but also just learn new insights and perspectives from the interns.
Yeah, thank you, Dora. That's probably the number one thing that we hear from our host companies is the fresh perspectives and new insights. So I appreciate you sharing that, and also your willingness to invest in the future generation of entrepreneurs and helping them along their entrepreneurial journey. So David, how about for you all at DLZP? What's your motivation and how do you get set up for success when hosting student interns?
Yeah, so I have to reiterate a lot of what Dora said. He took a lot of my talking points away from me, but I know a lot of them are very similar in terms of bringing in new ideas, new concepts. We work in an industry where we do a lot of ERP, enterprise resource planning, supply chain management, financials management, and we're really trying to find new ways to exploit these newer technologies. And so if you're, as he mentioned, the more legacy you are, the harder it is to go outside of your box and really adopt some of these new technologies, especially with generative AI and stuff like that. So what we've brought in the interns to do is to look at these new technologies with us and start to kind of reimagine how to do things differently, leveraging these new technologies. So when we look at things, we say, okay, what types of projects can we do that could be possibilities or interesting? We also spend a lot of time with the intern as we're onboarding them, understanding, kind of what they want to accomplish and kind of, and ideally we want to release their inner creativity in the areas that they're exploring and let them try new things and then just throw some spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And we've had some really good experiences with the interns that we've had so far. So hopefully that enhanced what Dura said and kind of reinforced what he said as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know how critical the onboarding process is. We're actually going to come back to that and dive a little bit deeper into that. But I'd love to hear from Shreya and Alex first. What's your motivation for seeking a startup internship? And, what were your expectations going into the internship? And did anything surprise you? Let's start with Shreya.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. I think I've always been in the STEM field, and I've always been in the social activism field as a youth activist. So this was my first experience in the corporate world, the first formal experience. But I believe the reason why I wanted to join a startup was because of the personal and the professional growth that you have in that experience. As many would agree, the startup culture is very different than a normal MNC culture, just because of how chaotic, and not in a good way, and just like the space that you get to really understand who you are, how you want to work, and how you want to go on with your internship is just amazing. And I feel like that was something that I absolutely needed. It was as expected, as already told, it was definitely chaotic. We have to help ourselves, but also the companies are so nice to help you give direction and to really understand what you have to do, but they also give you space in order to lead the activities. So you're not just doing stuff, but you're actually leading campaigns and whatnot. At least I did in my internship. So I think that was one great experience. So coming in, I did expect some sort of that. Really chaos, but I feel like the journey itself will always be unexpected. You're gonna face problems and you're gonna face challenges, I would call them, that you will have to overcome. But I feel like the key that I learned during my internship was that communication is absolutely essential as an intern manager, because both of you in your positions are in your own journeys and you're doing something new and you're trying to reach your own goals. So it's absolutely essential to communicate if you have any issues, and that is what will make your internship an absolute success from both the sides. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Shreya. Yes, we hear that time and time again. Communication is key, especially in an internship, and especially if you're working in a virtual or remote internship, extra special. So Alex, how about you? What were your expectations coming into the internship, and was it what you expected? What surprised you?
Yeah, I was really looking forward to work in the startup entrepreneurial setting, as that's kind of what I've been focusing on throughout my college career. It entices me very much because I love the high impact of roles and kind of being able to do it a lot of different facets within a small company. And that's really what I expected coming in. I expected to have a lot of different diverse projects, working on a ton of different things, kind of be a Swiss Army knife of information, trying to help just develop the company however we can. And that is what I experienced. I had different projects in client relationships, partnership activation, as well as developing new programs for the company. So it's kind of full service of whatever we think we can develop, it's just go out and build it and do that, right? So kind of focusing on whatever you can do to help is something that I was really looking forward to, and I got in this experience.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alex. And something both of you mentioned is this opportunity in a startup environment to truly create an impact. And we know that, students really thrive around clarity on business goals and expectations of the internship. But even bigger than that, they love to see how to connect the dots between the work that they're doing and how that contributes to the larger, vision and mission and goals of, the organization. And we hear that as well. The ability to contribute and feel like you're doing meaningful work or making an impact. And so this question is going back over to the intern managers. When it comes to scoping internship projects and helping student interns connect the dots between what they're working on and what are the company objectives and see how that's directly contributing, what are some strategies that you use to help kind of connect those dots? So David, let's start with you.
Sure. Just had to get off mute. So we have we've got a big roadmap of things we want to do outlined already as an organization. And so as we're bringing on interns, we kind of matched them to some of those objectives that we've already predefined. So we've kind of got a clear vision of what we want to do over the next 5 years. And so it's just fitting in the interns of which things do they best match against based on the skills that they currently have, plus whatever skills they're trying to acquire. We especially want them to get a full cycle of experience. So we try to make sure whatever projects we bring them in on, it's something that's, they can get pretty far through the process in the duration that they're going to be with us for whatever that is. So that they can get, kind of a little bit of experience with each piece of the puzzle as they migrate through the life cycle of a project or whatever task is they're being assigned. So they, we feel it's very important for them to understand the big picture. And so stepping them through all the individual pieces will make them a more complete, person and employee in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Dora, how about for you all? What steps do you take to kind of help connect the dots to the bigger picture?
Right, absolutely. And so for us, what I did was to spend a good amount of time curating a lot of the infos about the company, right? We had an entire Notion page dedicated to what is Dot, why did we even start Dot in the first place, where is Dot right now, and where do we want to be in 2 years, where do we want to be in 5 years. So what I realized was that giving the interns a good idea of what the company is and where the company wants to be was super helpful. The other thing we did was to give the interns access to all our private tools and resources. So each department on my team has a repository of tools and resources. So the backend has some tools they use, front end, product design. What we did was to also give the interns access to those plethora of tools. And what I realized was that also made it easy for them to easily plug into the internship without having to think, oh my God, I have to go research the meaning of this somewhere, or that I have to take this course. But actually all the course, all the terms and definitions we needed were all on the Notion page. The last thing that we did that we were super intentional about was also plugging the interns into our meetings. So it wasn't that we were having a meeting with the rest of the team, and we're having a separate meeting with the interns now. we were having one meeting and the interns were also actively contributing to the meeting. They were doing the same thing that other full-time team members were doing. And that made it easy for them to, easily understand the culture, easily, connect with other people outside of their, internship, outside of their department. So those were the three things I would say we did pretty well.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know how important it is and what an opportunity for the student interns to be able to sit in on company meetings, client meetings, really understand the culture and what the company is working on day to day. And so we always encourage opportunities and as you said, Joel, to reach outside of the department that you're working in, even though we often know that there might be 5 people working in the company, but to be able to make connections with others working in different areas is something that's helpful to connect those dots to understand how all the pieces fit together for the bigger picture. So I'd like to go back to Shreya and Alex and really understand from your perspective, what were some of the successful strategies that your companies did to help set you up for success in your internship in terms of scoping your project, but also helping you understand how it connects to that bigger picture. And is there any advice or anything that you would like to see more of that you think would help set students up for success? So Alex, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I think one thing that was very successful for me was that originally we worked in the first few weeks of our internship, we worked a lot on like understanding how each person in our internship learned and how they thrive. So for me personally, I thrive with very low structure. So I enjoyed having a large scope of a project and kind of being able to take it along with me and ask questions along the way. Whereas some of my fellow interns enjoyed more of a structure to help them guide them along their projects. So certainly understanding how each person in your organization works and how to help them succeed, I think is essential in figuring out the best, most effective strategy.
That's great. And Alex, I'm curious, how did you communicate that to your intern managers? How did you help them understand whether you had a preference for more or less structure? Because we know that can vary in different environments. And as Shreya mentioned earlier, communication is everything. So did you feel comfortable to share that with your intern managers and kind of let them know the ways in which you work best?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important when you first start on as you're onboarding to kind of establish that sense of trust of, we're going to support you however we can to make this the most effective, not only for you as an intern, but for them as a company, right? And as well, and it's always a continuous process, like analyzing what's working, having continuous feedback meetings to see, whether more structure is needed, whether less structure is needed, and you kind of build that over time.
Fantastic. Shreya, how about you? What were some of the things that your company did to help set you up for success? And would you have any advice to future host companies for something that they might do extra?
Yeah, so going off of what Alex said, I think I completely agree. And already mentioned before, we're also here, we're learning, but as we learn, we also have ideas in our own mind. So I feel like the fact that these companies foster such an environment where we can come out and really talk about our ideas, I think is something that we really should make use of, especially being in a startup. You're able to talk to those in positions of power or leaders really on the team, and you're able to get to know them and what they're essentially doing. So that is, I think, an opportunity that one should never let go. 3 key points that I did that I found really helpful during my internship was, first of all, I was in a marketing position. So what I went is I looked up the company online, obviously, before getting in touch with the company. And I looked over all of their social medias and different platforms and really see how they work and how they post. So anything that was related to my role, I went deep into it and I researched. So I really understood how they like to market themselves and what their key focus points are. And when I met my intern manager and the founder, I think one of the first discussions I had with them was like, what are the expectations that you have for me? I have observed that there are these kinds of things that you do. Would you like for me to transform or reform any of them? Do we want to continue, or do we just want new additions to what is already happening and no specific transformations overall? I think that really helped me, and I completely agree with Alex. I feel like everyone has a different way of working and different schedules. So it's really important to, I think, establish that with the intern manager, like, okay, I can talk to you at this time. And if I have any doubts, do you want me to ping you through Slack, or does Gmail work, or GChat? So really having those key points down so you don't have any confusion helps to have a smooth sailing. And for the host companies would definitely be, if you're in, so I was able to have conversations with the founder, with Nishika, one-on-one as well, which I think, especially at the start of my internship, was really helpful because it helped me understand what the values of the company are, of the founder are, what she wants to communicate to the audience. So keeping that in mind, I was able to work and really market the company well. So I think those conversations are really important between the interns and the intern managers to really understand what the values are, what the goals are. And so both of, like, everything moves hand in hand, coordinated. So I think, yeah, those are my 3 top points.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, we know how important it is to have those conversations up front and to set those expectations and to check in. Alex, you mentioned feedback. We're definitely going to talk about feedback here in a moment, and how you kind of create that continuous loop of feedback with intentional check-in. So but let's spend one more minute on the onboarding process, because again, I know just how critical it is. And David and Dora, you both touched on this a bit already, but maybe we could dive a little bit deeper into some of your intentional onboarding practices and how you work to integrate the student interns into your organization, but also scope their projects. Are we scoping big projects? Is it one big project over the entirety of the internship? Is it a bunch of small projects? Are there, deliverables and timelines? And what are some of the things that you do to get the students up to speed on the project, but also the company, the industry as well? So Dora, let's start with you.
Yeah, no, of course. So one thing we did that was super helpful was, we had a general onboarding meeting for, everybody on the team. And after that, we had a one-on-one meeting with where, each intern had the opportunity to actually meet with. So for me, it was, my back-end, front-end, product design team, and marketing. So each intern was now able to meet with their department head, let me call it that way. So my backend intern was able to meet with the backend developer and actually go through the details of what's going on in the backend. That was something that was super helpful in the onboarding process. Kind of like going from the old generic, meeting to single meetings. And then we also had weekly deliverables. So I would use my product design team as an example. So every Monday we would meet and walk through. So on Sundays and Saturdays, I would meet with my product design team, and then would work on what the interns actually should work on the following week. And then we'd meet with the interns on Monday, right, to walk them through, deliverables for the week, see if they have any questions, any feedback, and then they now go on to work, with other interns as well as with their department head to work on the deliverables. And then on Friday, we meet again to check if they have any questions, any feedback before we now meet on we have a lot of meetings before we now meet on Sunday, where they actually talk about the things they've done. So we just have constant meeting points just to constantly check in with the interns. And we also use our WhatsApp group chat for communication a lot. And so because of that, it's so easy. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't also incredibly difficult for them to easily get onboarded onto the things we're doing.
Amazing. Thank you. And David, how about you? Anything else you'd like to share about your company's onboarding process?
Well, we have an intern manager internally, so they coordinate regular touch points outside of our department with the interns to see how they're doing, get a different level of feedback on how the process is going with them. And when they're integrated with my team, I just treat them like regular employees. So they get put into with the team meetings. They get scheduled with all the regular meetings. They're expected to do the same status reports as everybody else. And so, we just we want it to be as real of an experience as possible for them. And so, it's, even the good and the bad, if they don't meet a deadline, we say, well, why didn't you meet the deadline? How much more time are you going to need? Step them through all those things, because, that's real life, right? Not everything is as easy as you think. You may give an estimate and realize, oh, wait, I really underestimated the effort required to make that happen. But those are all valuable experiences that they need to have in the real world. That'll just make them stronger. Just being transparent with them, having them be transparent, be honest with their feedback, what they're doing, what they're not doing, what they can do, what they can't do. And integrated across departments. Our teams are, kind of divided into front end, back end, developers, and database and administration. So we have a pretty large group of different people that they have to interact with. So teaching them to interact with those different folks, to understand, okay, well, I have to go to this group for this type of information versus this other group for the other type of information. Just understanding those barriers that most organizations would have in place, so that you get collaboration going, understanding that, hey, oh, I don't have security access to this. I can't just give it to myself. I have to, submit requests. So just like I said, just making the experience as real as possible for them. And integrating them in. Our goal at the end of the process is that we'll want them to come back and work for us at the end of their education, right? That's ultimately the goal we're trying to achieve is, do they fit our culture? Do they, have the work ethic we're looking for? And so, and then just making sure the project is meaningful and satisfying for them.
Yeah, we certainly love those outcomes when internships extend beyond the initial term and turn into an offer from the company. It's a win-win for both. And David, you mentioned something really important, and internships can happen within the construct of an academic program. Like, for example, the programs that we facilitate that you all have been a part of, like Startup Academy and the Silicon Valley Innovation Internship. It's part of an academic experience for the students, but it is a real world internship and should be treated as such, right? From both the companies as well as the students. And I've even had intern managers reach out and say, I'm having this challenge, or I need to provide this feedback, and they think they need to go through us. And we say, no, we're just here to kind of support in the background. You have that conversation, directly with the intern. They are part of your team. It is a real world internship. It's not just an academic experience. And so I find sometimes it's almost like they need the permission to go, oh, okay, I can have those conversations directly. And so that's just a piece of advice or encouragement, I think, to all the companies as well as the students is this is, regardless of how the internship is structured, it's a real world internship experience for both, and you should integrate the interns into your companies as you would any other employee or team members. So that's a good reminder. So let's continue on the topic of feedback. So we've heard a little bit from the company side and the importance of sharing that feedback and creating those check-ins. I'd like to hear from Alex and Shreya. In terms of how has it been receiving feedback, but then we also know how critical it is for the interns to provide feedback to their managers as well. So maybe each of you could talk a little bit about your internship experience, both giving and receiving feedback, and what that helped you do in your internship. So Shreya, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think that was a very essential part of my internship. I used to have bi-weekly meetings with my manager, where sometimes, most of the times, even every other day, which really helped me be on track and make sure that whatever efforts that I'm putting in, it's in the right direction, and I'm doing what is expected of me, and I'm not losing direction. I think one thing that really helped me was so when you're in a internship during the summer, like a full-time internship, there's a lot of projects that you can overtake at the same time. So I think keeping track of everything that is being discussed in the meeting, and then maybe really quickly when the meeting is ending, just be like, okay, just to make sure for this week, you want me to do this, and this with these deadlines. And if you don't get a chance to, and even better is after the meeting, you just send them like a quick Slack message or a quick email saying like, okay, thank you so much for the meeting. Just to ensure this is what we discussed, and I'll have it to you by these deadlines as these projects. And so they can also confirm, and it's like on. So even if after a day or two you have any confusion with what was discussed in terms of, oh, you might forget what actually was discussed, you can go back to that email and really have that direction in mind, like, okay, this is what I need to work on, and that is what my priority is. So I think like those check-ins with that additional feature of really just confirming everything that was discussed for clear communication, like I said, once again, from both parties, I think was something that really helped me make my internship a successful one.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. Always just following up to make sure that you understood and are working in the right direction, and also following up for a status report and sharing progress of where we are on certain items and what's coming next, or maybe where we need some help. So Alex, how about for you? What was the experience like in terms of giving and receiving feedback?
Yeah, I think the most impactful thing for me is when taking feedback from a manager, kind of approaching it with a growth mindset. Especially for an internship. This is my second internship that I did over the summer. So kind of approaching everything that came in as an opportunity to learn, rather than, maybe this wasn't done correctly as they wanted it to be. Not taking that as me doing something bad, but an opportunity for next time to improve on how I'm communicating or displaying my ideas. On the opposite side of that, of talking about giving managers feedback, it's kind of a similar thing where you kind of want to take ownership in your experience and want to make sure that you are helping them help you. So whether or not they need to be communicating with you more or giving you some more space to explore and move around, making sure that you're confidently communicating with that to them so they are able to give you the best experience.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Alex. And actually, one of our Silicon Valley innovation interns submitted this question prior to the session today. And I think this is a good opportunity to ask it. How do you find that right balance of giving the intern sort of the freedom to work and to figure things out with like the right amount of like guidance and structure? And I think this is an appropriate question for both sides. So how do you strike that balance? Alex, what was that balance like?
It's certainly a tough balance for everyone, because everyone is a little bit different of how they take on a certain amount of boundaries. Again, it's like, I feel like it's a continuous cycle of seeing how, setting a certain amount of boundaries based on what they communicate in the beginning, and then kind of going forward from that to see, what ideas are coming out of it, what work is coming out of it. Do you think that they're struggling to find the point that this project is going, or do you feel like they're, kind of sticking too straight and narrow to what can be done? So kind of, continuously taking a look at the results of these communications and boundaries, and adjusting them as you go forward.
Yeah, excellent. So for our host companies, so David or Dolra, how did you strike the right balance of, giving the intern sort of the freedom and the space to take the initiative and figure things out, with how much guidance and direction they needed? Because we also understand you guys have really busy jobs running companies or running your teams and divisions. You can't hold the hand all the time. So what is that right balance? Is there a sweet spot?
I think it's very individualistic. We kind of treat everyone individually. So when we bring on an intern, like the first week, it's probably daily touch points, and trying to gauge, how much of the task you've asked them to do they understand versus not understand. Not everyone's always forthcoming in not understanding something. So they'll just nod their head and say, yes, I understand totally what you asked for. And then, so that first couple weeks is where we're actually kind of gauging that. And so it'll be more, and like I said, there's not a like clear answer to every question, but it's more a feeling that you have is you interview them, you say, hey, here's what we need you to do. And then we give them like 24 hours to kind of write something up or draft up what they've been asked to do or to create whatever it is they're doing. And then we check their work and then see, okay, does it meet what we thought we were getting or whatever? And then you just iterate from there. And then we give them more and more time in between those touch points based on their needs. But it's different for everyone. We've had interns and employees for that matter. It's no different for employees or interns. Some take 2 weeks and they get everything. Others take 6 weeks before they kind of get straight in their mind and how things need to work. And so I try not to judge someone by their initial difficulty in trying to understand what we do, because we do some complicated things, and it's not so easy for everyone just to walk in and be able to get it like at the snap of their fingers. Some people, it just takes a while, and as long as they continue to show progress towards the goal, then we keep working with them until they get there. So
yeah,
hopefully that kind of clarified it a bit.
Excellent. Well, and it underscores something Alex said earlier, in that really it's an individual approach, which you should be taking with full-time team members and interns. So really understanding how your interns work best, the environments or the sort of the situations in which they thrive. And same goes for the interns, understanding how your managers work best. We often talk about this concept of managing up. So it's exactly like any other employee team member relationship. And so the individualized approach, I think, makes perfect sense. So Dora or Shreya, anything else that you would like to add to that question around that, striking the balance of, let's call it autonomy and freedom versus structure and guidance?
I could add one. Yeah, you're right.
Go ahead. It's okay. You can go ahead.
All right, thank you. I was just saying I could add one thing, which is meeting people where they are, and that boils into clear communication and just asking them to really clearly communicate where they are right now and what their capacity is, and just sort of developing some accountability measures. So for us, we have weekly stand-ups where you're not actually coming to the meeting and telling us what you've done. You have your own workspace and you can use that to update what you've done and what you need help with. And the other thing I did was to also give them access to the repository of information we have, because we realized that much as they might not know like literally everything, and they might not be initially willing to say, oh, I don't know this. As long as they have that backup of information that we've already provided to them, backup of resources, they can easily fall back on that. So that was also something that we did.
Yeah, giving them the resources to be successful, but then the freedom and autonomy to go execute and come back for questions and check in. Love that. Thank you. Shreya, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I think just I'm gonna emphasize on that, just to give them those resources. I think one key element would be having them be in the team meetings. So whenever the interns are in the team meetings, they understand what the projects are meant to do and how do they fall in the bigger scheme of things. So whenever they'll get on that project, they will understand like, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing, and for if they have any questions on how to do it, they can ask their intern managers. And I think the second thing that I would say is definitely whenever an intern takes on a project, I think everyone comes in with a basic knowledge of what they have to do and how to do it. So really just have that brain run, have that like ideation process and just talk to the manager and be like, oh, like, just to be clear, do you want me to innovate this program? Do you want me to come up with something new? Do you want me to add to the same thing that has already been happening? Or like, just as the intern mentioned, what the status is. And the manager should also, I think, just be like, okay, this is what the purpose of it is. And if the project does have area to, be innovated and, like give that freedom to the intern, I think it should definitely be something should be added to the internship experience. But yeah.
Love that. So I want to hear about some of the projects. So let's hear some examples of projects that, so for Shreya and Alex, what did you work on in your internships where you really felt like, you were able to contribute something meaningful to the company? So Shreya, why don't you start?
Yeah, so mine, I was in the marketing role, so I think mine was a very where you come in with a creative mindset because you have to do a lot of designing, out of the box thinking, and involved with some personal values as well, so like empathy to be able to put yourself in the shoes of the audience and whatnot. I think personally for me, I was able to contribute to their social media because Human Q is a company which is very set on brand, which is I think a very good value to have. But that also at some point restricts how much you're doing in terms of presenting yourself. So I feel like it was definitely a process for me to get used to it, but I feel like I was able to add on to things, add on to the campaigns of how they were presenting themselves to the audience, how to make it more interactive and not just a very basic, like, oh, this is what's happening. So definitely that. I also worked on the website and the search engine optimization. So that also included how to make the matter that you have on your website more relatable. So I think just coming up with those ideas of like, okay, this is how we can work through it and have more audience come onto the platforms and really understand what is happening, was something I think I was able to do. And it was an experience, but ultimately that's what an internship is. That's what you're here for.
Absolutely. And how much of this had you had prior experience in versus how much of this was new to you and you learned on the job?
So I had experience in social media marketing, just because I'm very much passionate about it, through personal research and implementation. But coming onto the team, I think it was a very different experience just because, like I said, they had like a very set brand. So even though I had like a lot of creative ideas and I was like, oh, we can do this, we can do that, there were points where like, okay, no, this is our brand. We have to stick with it. So like we have to stick with these fonts and these colors. And like, which are things which you will learn when you go into a professional environment. Like these are things that you have to keep in mind when you do the job. So I think that sort of limited my creative juices, but it also gave me the ability to innovate in that small space that I had to work, which helped me become more flexible and adaptable. And search engine optimization was something that I learned completely. I didn't know anything about it, but I learned on the go. And I think it was the most fulfilling experience because I was able to see the results as implemented. So
yeah, we hear that a lot. Students are learning on the job, but that's probably one of the most critical skill sets or mindsets that you can come in with. And Alex, you touched on the growth mindset, but the willingness to roll up your sleeves, dive in, and figure out what needs to get done to get the job done. So Alex, how about you? What was something impactful that you worked on in your internship?
Yeah, so kind of the overarching project that I did for a majority of my internship was I worked on a strategic partnership with Airbnb to try to get their accommodations on our booking platform. So to do that, we took a lot of market research of the booking industry as a whole, as well as a lot of company research on Airbnb to kind of develop this strategy in the way that would best help convince them to get on our platform. In terms of success in this project, I think kind of going back to the autonomous nature, I think the thing that was really helpful in succeeding was that the why was super clear of why we were doing this and what the goal was, but the how was the undefined part that I was able to be creative and help figure out and develop over time, which was really impactful for me.
Fantastic. Okay, one more question to the host companies, and then we're going to go to our live Q&A. So what happens next? What happens after the internship? What do you all do as host companies to either, help set the students up for success beyond the internship? And curious if any of these internships have turned into job opportunities. What does it take for a student to demonstrate their value to stay full-time with you guys? So who wants to start us? Dora?
I can start. What happens next? So before we actually ended the internship, I had a one-on-one with each and every one of the interns right, to really understand what they wanted to do next, right? And I made it pretty clear that if you ever wanted to, return back to that, we can always open that conversation. That was one. The other thing is to see if they needed recommendation for like they wanted to work somewhere else, if they wanted to work in another industry that's probably related to that, or if they want to get a recommendation for another internship that they can 100% count on me or their or the intern manager they worked with. So those were the two things that I would say pretty much happens next. And just letting them know that they can, even though they might not want to do a fully fledged internship with Dot, they can always come back at any point in time to own some of the lessons they've learned without any paperwork, without any application. Like just tell me when you're ready, and very happy to plug you back to it. That's how we've structured it.
All right, fantastic. And David, how about for you guys?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, our objective is always to keep the intern if they want to stay. We understand it's an internship and they certainly have the opportunity to go and try some other areas. So just from past interns, we've had some interns come and then, they just stay in touch with us over time with their new jobs. They come to us with opportunities saying, hey, this company I'm working for needs your resources, or I think you guys would be good to partner with these guys. So we've seen a lot of, even if it's beyond the internship, where it's the long-term relationship we want to build with them, because we don't know who might be the next Bill Gates or whoever, and they might need to hire us to help them with their company as they're building it and growing it. So we want to maintain that type of relationship where it's called business, right? So for a reason, and it's we work in a relationship business for us. IT services is highly relationship based, so you build those relationships, obviously providing them references if they need it, but at the end of the day, we'd like to keep them. So if we find someone that's good, they show they're proactive, they're very dedicated to their work, they're passionate about what they do. Like I said, the type of work we do, we're looking for those types of people who are passionate about the type of work they do, and we want more of that in our company, the creative juices flowing. And I just remember when Google first started out, when they said don't be evil, and they said every Friday every employee work on a side project. That's kind of the way we envision ourselves, is let some of that creative come in. And we've had, like, the interns we've had so far have been very successful. We've had some products that we've been able to release from work that interns have done. So, I think it's really just, supporting them through their career, because it's, we're just one stop along the way of their lifetime journey.
I love that. So have passion and do great work, and you just might get a job with DLZP. All right. Okay. So let's move over to our audience Q&A. So our first question from the audience is actually, I think, aligns really well with one of the questions that we also received from one of our Silicon Valley innovation interns around. So this is a question for the interns. So did you identify internships in your intended career? What factors were important to you as you made your selections? I'm going to add on to this one because I know in the case of Alex and Shreya, you were part of a program in which you demonstrated your interest and were placed in an internship. Tell us if that internship was in an area or an industry that was of interest to you. And if it wasn't, how did you still use the internship experience to advance your career goals, objectives, and also build your network? So Alex, let's start with you. So how did you identify your internship? Was it in an area of your intended career?
Yeah, I was very thankful that I got my first choice when we picked our internships. It was something that I'm looking to go into. So I currently looking at sales, partnership activation, growth marketing, that kind of stuff. So it was right in line with what I want to do in the future, which I was very thankful for. For anybody who is maybe going into a role that is not necessarily aligned with that, I would really suggest, taking maybe a step back from, the hard day-to-day tasks that you're doing and kind of take a look at the overall internship as a whole. no matter what experience, not even just job, but life, interactions with people, anything that happens in your life, there's a lesson to come from that, right? So make sure you take that away, and always try to find something positive to take away and talk about during interviews.
Love that. Back to the growth mindset, and also, yeah, every opportunity you can figure out how to talk about it in an interview. So don't waste a good opportunity. So Shreya, what were some of the factors that were important to you in your internship selection or your internship process? Was your internship in sort of your desired area or career field?
Yeah, so as I've already told everyone, I'm not studying marketing, but I am passionate about it and it's something that I love to do. So yes, I was thankful that I got that position. The industry I wasn't very specific about because I feel like right now as a student, I just have, like Alex already told about, like the growth mindset. And I feel like if you talk to any professional in any industry, they will tell you, like, if they've had a career of like 15 years, maybe there were at least 2 or 3 pivotal points where they changed industries and they realized, like, okay, maybe this is better for me and that. So I feel like you're always gonna go through that journey and it's never too late to be like, oh, like maybe, I can learn something new. And I came in with that mindset. Another thing that I feel like really helps to make the best out of the experience that you've had is like when you're in an internship or in a professional setting, whether it's virtual or if it's in person, you get a chance to talk to people, professionals who have been in the industry for years. And I feel like it's absolutely essential for you to take that opportunity to seize it and really make the most out of it. So I'm studying, like I said, I am in the social impact area. Climate change and global peace is something that I've been a youth activist for. And that's something really near and dear to my heart. And I want to do something in that area. So being in San Francisco, even though I was in a marketing role, with a company which had values very similar to mine, which I'm grateful for, I took that opportunity where I've looked at events in the city that were related to my passion and my interest, even if my internship wasn't directly related to it. So, and when I went to those events, I found people who are in the same industry as I am working in the internships. I went to a climate panel where they were talking about climate tech that is arising in the Silicon Valley. And it was like an absolutely amazing experience. And there I met a product marketing manager at Google, and we met after we had coffee. We walked the Golden Gate Bridge all the way and back. So I feel like just that one search where like, oh, like maybe I can go to this event, and then one high led to a relationship that I can be like, oh my God, yeah, like we crossed the Golden Gate Bridge together. But so like those things, you just really have to be proactive and like you have to take that opportunity and just make the most out of it. These are chances you never get in life. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I see Nicola has rejoined us on the screen. This has been a fabulous conversation. I will turn it back over to Nicola, but thank you to our panel. Thank you to our audience for being part of this discussion today. And we hope that you continue to connect with us. And if we can be a resource in any way, don't hesitate to reach out. So Nicola, over to you.
Thank you so much. And just to echo Sam's kind words, thank you so much, all of you, for joining. It is truly a village that it takes when it comes to celebrating amazing talent that works inside and across organization. And here's to crossing a lot of literal and thoughtful bridges, just like you heard from Shreya and others today. You'll see a link that's going to drop into our chat in just a moment on some of our other upcoming classes that may be relevant and helpful to your journeys, both as founders or aspiring founders. And just know that the center is always here to help support you in the biggest of ambitions as you continue to do incredible work in and around the field of entrepreneurship. So on behalf of Lehigh University and all of our amazing founders, sponsors, partners, and everyone, thank you so much for joining, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.